So when we partnered with SDE, we made it 1 day. It's a 6 to 7 hour gig. So if you can give us a day, we'll help you with emergency operation plan development. And then once you start the process and you're done, we'll help you with refining it, reviewing it with you, anything that we can do to help you. This is one of the keys to creating a safe school environment, is to have a good, sound plan. We offer free training. The training that we offer is both for law enforcement and education professionals. But for the training specific to education professionals, one of the classes that we do is called Protecting Our Future. Protecting Our Future is based on a review of past violent incidences in schools, primarily Columbine, Sandy Hook, Virginia Tech, and several others. And we look at that from the standpoint of not to say, let's look at how bad they did, but you know, if a smart guy learns from his mistakes, a smarter guy learns from the mistakes of others. And there were issues there that we learned from, lessons learned. So what did we learn from those? What can we pass on to schools and to school faculty and staff to say, what issues should you consider and why are these things important? One of the things you'll see is drills. And when we talk about drills and you talk about drills with your staff, your faculty is going to go, oh my gosh, drills, you know, you can't get the kids back on task, they disrupt the learning environment. You know, and I see drills come to our office, reports come to our office, and the drills are held the same time every day, 3:15. We're out drill at 3 o'clock and school's out at 3:15. So, you know, that's not a drill. And so we go through the importance of why these things make a difference. Another class that we teach is called Teacher and Student Sexual Relationships, one we developed based on requests from SDE, when we said what topics are most important for schools today. And they said, man, we really need something on the inappropriate relationships that are occurring. If you remember, about 2 years ago, the state passed a law that said if you let a teacher go or allow them to resign, and that teacher is dismissed or resigns under a cloud of suspicion where a criminal law could have been violated or criminal charges should have been filed or could have been filed, we want to know about it now. That's in response to these problems that we have with teacher and student sexual relationships. It's not just in Oklahoma. This is a nationwide problem. Sexuality has changed. Sexual orientations have changed over the logistics over the last 34 years. And so now you not only have male teachers with female students, but you have female teachers with male students. You have female and female and male and male. These sexual issues have risen to the point that the latest study with education professionals that asked this question, if you saw something inappropriate that made you feel uncomfortable between a student and a teacher, how many of you would report it? And 44% of the teachers and faculty that were polled said we would not report it. The next question was why? Why would you report it? Well, if I'm wrong, I ruined the life of an educator. What we don't hear is if I'm wrong, I ruined the life of a child. Anywhere from 8 to 10% of students who attend public school report that they have been victimized by a school employee, either sexually harassed or sexually assaulted during their time in school. This is something we have to address. It's time to quit passing the trash. We've got pedophiles in our school systems. So this is what we're looking at. How do we address this problem? What we hear from administrators is well, I don't know what to look for, you know, because this guy was the teacher of the year. This woman was one of the best teachers I had. What is it that I should be looking for? What is the grooming process? What is the profile of the sexual predator who enters education? What are they doing? What should I be looking for? So that's what we look at. We do training for bus drivers. Bus drivers are required to have so many hours of professional development a year. So we offer a 2-hour class in that arena as well for bus drivers to say, look, you got a mobile classroom. The same things we're talking about in protecting our future. We've got some issues for bus drivers. What can you do to keep your buses, kids safe on buses? How do you keep people who are not supposed to be on the bus off the bus? And particularly, we're looking at hijacking buses or removing kids by force or violence off the buses. That has happened. It continues to happen. Some of those things have been catastrophic. We've had kids killed. So what we're looking for here is how to train bus drivers to recognize some of the problems in advance, how to prevent those things, how to respond to them, and how to be prepared in case that happens with them. The School Response Act Assessment is something that's Gary's class, and let him talk about that.
Yeah, and the bus driver training too, that's one that I had put together. And just so you know, it is approved through OAPT. Oklahoma Association of Pupil Transportation, and SDE. So when they have to have their 4 credit hours, I can't give them all 4, I can only give them 2. 2 hours, or we can't give them 4. So 2 hours of it has to be physically driving the bus, turn signals, checking mirrors, actual operations of the bus. So the 2 hours of it, and in that, I can cover their, we get information out for their bullying part side of that, the credits that they have to have for that. So it's a class that we put together at the request of OAPT, so it is approved through SDE, so it's all right. The school response to active assailant, when I started, that was something that had already been put together in our office, but when I started putting it together, talking to schools, and Gary was talking about the 2 days, oftentimes the first version of it was 4 hours. And so I thought, well, 4 hours would be fine, and so we start putting it out to schools, and it's difficult to get 4 hours. So I've gotten it down to around 2 hours. Sometimes, depending on questions and things, it may run over a little bit and go to about 2.5 hours. But in that school response to active assailant, that's where I talk to the staff, the teachers. I talk to your teachers, and one of our we are big fans of locking doors. Locking doors. And that's something I talk about because how many of you are administrators in here? Majority. Most of the pushback you're going to get is when you start talking to teachers about locking their doors, especially when they're in an elementary. Because the little elementary kids are like fire hydrants, man. They're full up. They got to go to the bathroom about every 5 minutes. So that's a tough thing. But we give them tips on how to get past that. Maybe something so simple as I don't know if y'all seen them. I encourage you not to buy them, but there's a company that makes bookmarker, something about the size of a bookmarker that's a magnet, and it goes over the strike plate on the door, and it won't let the latch fall and lock the door. So in the event of an emergency, rather than me have to step out into the hallway to lock the door, if your door's locked from the hallway, I simply, if my door's already locked, I just pull the magnet and pull my door shut, and I'm locked. So we give alternatives to that sort of thing. Alternatives. In our base, you throw out Homeland Security, everybody wants us to endorse a product or endorse some type of program, and we can't. We just don't. There are many products out there on the market, and there are many programs. Alice, have you all heard of Alice? I've been through the Alice Instructor School. This is the school where they talk about having kids throw items, books, and get in a fight stance or a fight posture and posture up at the door ready to fight an armed attacker if somebody comes in. So I do talk about that in that class. I talk about the run, hide, fight, or avoid, deny, defend. I talk about those as alternatives to that because although I'm an instructor out in Alice, we went to see exactly what information they were giving out. Some of it I'm not a fan of. Some of it I like, some of it I don't. So one of the things I don't like is if I'm in elementary school, what are going to be my options to me other than fight? If I'm sitting in a room full of pre-K or kindergarten students, that's not an option available to me. So if I'm in a system that is using Alice, and hopefully this is in no way negative towards Alice. I think they have a fine program. I just think there are things that we need to also, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of approach for us. So if I'm in there, that's not an option for me. So I talk about escape, getting out, just basic things. How many of you use plain language to announce your drills? Hopefully, is your school or your all schools using plain language? Or a lot of schools were used to use code. Mr. Smith has left his red folder or lost his red folder. Depending on the color of the folder meant it's dire. If it was yellow folder, hey, be on caution. If it's green, that meant, something's going on, but you're still safe. Don't do anything. Just hold what you got kind of thing. We're not in that. We don't, call it what it is. We have an intruder in the north hallway of the high school. Say it over the intercom. Reason being is what I was going to say is we're big on escape. I'm a fan of, and like Gary said, I was a police officer for 25 years, and I'm a fan of, for people, if there's something happening, where is the best place to be while it's going on? Not there. Not where it's happening. So if I'm in the south hallway and they give me that call that this has happened in the north hallway, that gives me a lot more options. Now I can start thinking, well, we're here, I've already scoped this out today, basically there's a door right there that leads us out to a parking lot, and then there's the football stadium's back over here, and there's all kinds of resources for us to go get to. So if they were to make that call, escape is our option. So that's basically the class in a nutshell. It's about 2 hours long. I try and keep it to 2 hours, so if that's something that anybody's interested, I think I gave everybody cards except for you two ladies. So I have all of the school districts, everything south of I-40. So east to west, south of I-40, I'll be your contact point. Gary has everything north of I-40, east to west, and then our boss Jennifer has everything in the metro area. So we tried to break it up that way. But that's not to say that you wouldn't see either one of us, because if I have something going, especially the first week in August, everybody's having their in-services. We're all over the place. Gary's going to be covering some of mine, and I'm probably going to end up to the north, and so we're doing that. As Gary was talking earlier about the commission, one of the things that was in the commission that they said was, we want our schools, we had a tip line, and we want that back. So it funneled to our office, this tip line. We didn't know what the tip line was. We started doing research on it. Turns out that years ago, there was a tip line, and you could call it, but our understanding was it basically dead-ended at an answering machine. You would call if you had a tip of something that was going to happen in a school. You would have to leave a message, and somebody would call you back. The reality of it is, how many of you have a message machine in your home? I still have one. I still have a landline for all the car salesmen. And you know, the other calls, business trying to sell me thing calls, I don't check it every day. So if you call a tip in, you're dependent on when somebody goes and checks that tip line. So we didn't want that. So we set the tip line up, or the tip line was set up to where it's monitored 24/7. There is a person on the other end of this phone number. So if somebody calls, they will talk to somebody. It goes to the Fusion Center, which is responsible for gathering all the intelligence in the state of Oklahoma. They gather intelligence on somebody maybe building bombs in their house, all sorts of things, but it goes to them during normal business hours. When they're off of their business hours, it rolls over and it goes to Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigations communications officer. So they will pick the phone up and talk to somebody. The thing with the tip line, one of the things we wanted to be was, I used the word transparent, not transparent, but we wanted every tip that came in, we wanted it to go out, really no matter what it was. It's not for us to decide if it's a viable tip or not. We didn't want to get into that game. So one of the tips, I'll give you an example. One of the tips that came in was a large party that was going to be happening over the weekend with all the high school students. And so they called wanting to know, what do we do with this tip? Should we hang on to this or should we send it out? And when we send it out, it goes to the local law enforcement, it'll go to the superintendent that we have on file, and maybe the principal, just depending. So we want somebody from the school contacted and somebody from law enforcement. They were sitting on it, not thinking, you know, should we send this out? What should we do? They got in touch with Jennifer, our boss, over the weekend, and she said, send it out. Send that out. Well, but it's not going to happen during school hours, and it's not going to happen out of school, was the thought process. Our thought process was, it might not be, but what do schools do if there's a child that's injured in a fatality crash leaving this party and it's full of high school kids? At least it's not an actionable thing for you as an administrator, but maybe it's something to plug in the back of your mind that, you know, Monday morning, is there fallout that I'm going to be dealing with? Is there something that I'm going to have to handle on this deal? So that was kind of our processes and our thought processes as far as we want all the information to go out. You all run your schools. You know what you want to do. It's not for us to decide for you what to do. We just want to give you the information and let you deal with it. You can file 13 it, that's fine. We just want to make sure you have it. The drills. Hopefully everybody's doing their drills. Hopefully your schools are doing them. It's important, and that's one thing I talk to when I talk to your teachers during the school response to active assailant class is take those things serious. Do your drills. Because you've heard the old saying, I never set out to be a police officer. That's not the old saying. I always wanted to be a football coach and a teacher. That's what my life was going to be, was a football coach. And so I draw back on that and think, you play like you practice, right? If you sleep through these and you walk through them and you don't practice them like you should, on the day something happens, what's going to happen? You're going to sleepwalk through that too. People are not going to know what to do, how to do it, where they should go. They're not going to be familiar with it. One of the big things, and this comes from our risk and vulnerability assessments, is how many of you do drills during lunchtime? You have I will tell you, think about Columbine. When did Columbine occur? What time frame? A little after 11 a.m. in the morning. Why? That's when the largest group of students were going to be in the cafeteria, and that's when they knew the security guard who would monitor the school would be off campus, tending to whatever businesses he tended to. I think they said he was off smoking a cigarette or something. He goes off campus. They knew his schedule, and they knew that's where all the kids were going to be. And I will tell you folks, if I was going to attack a school from a bad guy standpoint, I'm going to attack you at lunchtime, or I'm going to attack you early in the morning when you're getting kids there to eat breakfast. Because most schools in Oklahoma have breakfast programs where all the kids are there. And most usually there's one or two teachers in there, maybe. Lucky there's one or two. So do your drills. Try doing one at lunch. I know it's very difficult because your kids are on a schedule to try and you have to give them lunch. I know they're on a schedule, and that's what we hear. Well, we can't really do it at lunch because I have to feed them. And so my thought process and our thought process, when you get to the end of, unless things have changed, when I was in school, we had pajama days and movie days and popcorn days and this day, where our schedule was a little more flexible. If I know one of those days are coming up, I might be able to slide a little bit, have a drill, take the 10 minutes, do a drill, bring them back in, let them have their lunch. The other problem that I've heard, now I don't know how to overcome this one, and I don't know if Gary has any ideas, was I had one say, that's fine, we could do one at lunch, and I could send the kids out. My problem is the kids are going to come back in, and they're not going to get the right food, or they're going to sit down in the wrong place, or somebody's going to have eaten their food, or something like that. So I don't really know how to deal with that one. So I said, well.
How many of you here report your drills? You are the person that's reporting.
That reports them.
Let me give you a tip here. Every year after July 1st, we bring the whole site down and we put it back up. If you bookmark the form, that's your bookmarks on your favorites, it's not going to work.
Right.
When you go to it, fill it out and send it to us, it's going to say the web page is down. So you need to bookmark the web page, not the form. Because the form changes. We bring them all down, we store them, we archive last year's, and we start over. So for the 17-18 year, go to the web page, draw the form down, bookmark or make a favorite of the web page itself, and just go to the form and submit it. And every year that will be the routine. We'll bring the system down, archive all the old reports, and then you get a new form. That's when we make changes to the form if we're going to make changes. So if you go to it as you have in the past, and you bookmark the form, it's going to say web page down. It's not.
Right. So, yeah, and actually another one that I got a phone call on yesterday was an administrator was asking me where the form was for documenting drills. I said, well, did you go to our website? She said, well, yeah, but it's not on there anywhere. I said, yeah, at the top, you click on drills, and there's a pull down. She said, no. I'm looking for the form that's almost like a spreadsheet, if you will, that says tornado drill 1, tornado drill 2, fire drill 1, fire drill 2. It says date, time, how many students were involved in what we did. And I said, well, I don't think we don't have a form like that, but let me ask around and make sure. If you're using that, and apparently some schools are, I just found out about it yesterday, that is your that's an RAO form that they put out, your Regional Accreditation Officer, and that comes out of SDE. So
some of the RAOs are just recommending that you use that to keep
use that to track what you're doing. So if you're using that, what I've been able to ascertain is the RAOs, the lady that is in charge, she's the director of that program, is retiring. They're in the process of putting a new one in. So the form may be available for your use, but we don't know what changes their offices are going through and if they're going to redo that for your use. I don't know. So
We archive your drills,
just
so
need to
if
keep that in
you
mind.
do a drill and you forgot to print out a copy of it, and you need a printed copy of it, contact us, we'll fax it to you. Or email.
Yeah, we can email those to you. If you need your drills for 2 years ago, because we archive them, I can pull those up for you and copy them or scan them and send them to you in email format, so you'll at least have a copy for your book for your RAO. And lastly, risk and vulnerability assessments. These are things that, as of late, we've been really busy with. And what we do is, on a risk and vulnerability assessment, is we pick a day, or you pick a day, and hopefully our calendars match up. Then we will come to your school. Hopefully, we don't like to be announced. We don't want you to announce we're coming. It's okay if you talk amongst your principals or whatever, and say, hey, there's gonna be a guy here. But we will show up at your school, and we will walk around your school and look at your doors, what doors are locked. How does your staff react to us when we're on campus? Are they taking us to the office, making sure that we're checked in? Those sorts of things. We look at your camera system, your parking, your bus drop-off, your car rider drop-off. We take everything into consideration that you do on a daily basis of your school. And then we go back and sit down and we'll type you up a report, and we'll send you the report once we're done, and all the pictures. We send you every bit of information we have that we get that day, and we send it back to you, but we make recommendations in there. Oftentimes administrators are reluctant to have us do that for various reasons, and I understand, but, because I always ask, so who gets this report when you're done with it? Thinking maybe we send it to the school board or we send it to whoever. You get it. I take it out of my hands and I hand it to the superintendent. What the superintendent or the principal or anybody does with it after that, that's their business, but that's my work product. That's our work product. We don't pass that out to anyone because it's safety and security. I don't want that information out there. So I leave it with you, and if you want to bring it to your school board's attention, say, meaning here's the things we need, here's some of the recommendations that they've made. Door locks need to be replaced, or this needs to be done, or that needs to be done. The other idea, or the other reason that sometimes they're reluctant is money. You guys, with the exception of cash, anybody teaching cash here? With the exception of cash, most of you are probably cash strapped. No pun. I didn't even get it. Come on, man. So, we know oftentimes the fear is, I'm gonna come out and do this assessment, and the first thing I'm gonna tell you to do is bulldoze your school and start over. And in some instances,
That would be the best.
I thought, pull in the parking lot and go, well, bulldoze this thing. We try and keep everything low cost to no cost, because we know you don't have money. So we're not gonna hit you with, well, you need to build new 8-foot chain link fence entirely around your school and do this and do that, because we know the money's not there. To say, the bookmarks for the doors, those are about $3 or $4 a piece. Count doors in your building. How long does it take for $3 or $4 to add up? So what I tell folks is, go to Hobby Lobby. They have sheets of magnet in there that you can buy. There are like 10 sheets or 20 sheets of magnets in a packet, and they're like $5. And cut your own out and put it on the door. So, we try and keep it in that world for you guys, to where you're not spending a whole lot of money or looking to have to spend a lot of money. Because oftentimes, like I said, we look for all the unsafe things, and oftentimes those are when you're most vulnerable, your cafeteria, your lunch. I would recommend have multiple teachers. Make sure they have a plan while they're in there. They know what to do when they're in there. Make sure that somebody knows how to lock the doors and get that thing secured if you go. So just those things that somebody physically can do. So, Gary, do you have anything to
Yeah,
add?
risk and vulnerability assessment, let me tell you, we talk about what it is, let me tell you what it's not. We're not gonna come in and give you places to shelter for tornado. That's somebody else that does that. It's Safe Schools 101. It's a program out of the Oklahoma Office of Emergency Management. So we're not gonna come in and take square footage, to show you where your best shelters are for your school, population. Safe Schools 101 brings out architects, engineers, they want to see the blueprints, they want to look at the structural integrity of the buildings and to see where you're sheltering, and they're going to do a completely different formula than what we would ever do. So we leave that component to them. What we do focus on primarily is violent intruders on campus, how to keep that under check, but an all hazards approach includes a lot of other things. For instance, we'll not only look at your campus and the demographics of your campus, but we look at your policies and procedures that relate to safety and security. We look at your emergency operation plan, we look at your school handbook. As an example, let me throw this out here. How many of you have a policy that mandates that employees of the district, well, I'm going to say it doesn't because I want to get the vote. How many of you have a policy in place that employees of the district who obtain a protective order must report that to the superintendent's office? Yeah, most don't. Most don't have any policy that says we require an employee who obtains a protective order or who has been served with a protective order to report that. Let me tell you how you get a protective order. You get a protective order when you go into a judge and say, Judge, this person's trying to kill me. You need to know that. If I'm your employee and I'm coming back to your campus, and we just had that happen recently in the case in California, the woman said to other members of her group, her peer group, she said, I'm really afraid of my husband. I don't think he's going to kill me, but I'm really afraid of him. We're having a lot of problems. Now, who says that? She doesn't report it to anybody. They don't report it. And a couple of days later, her husband comes to the school, registers as a visitor. They go, oh, yeah, we know you. You're so-and-so's husband. Not a problem. I just need to go down to the classroom to see my wife. Not a problem. Go ahead and go. He walks in, he kills her, kills another student, and injures another one. Those are issues that unless you make a requirement, why would I not tell you that? Well, I'm embarrassed. I think that you may discipline me. I think it may hurt my reputation in the community. I just don't want to tell you about these things. But I don't think it's that serious, whatever it may be. But if it's serious enough that I have obtained a protective order, you need to know that, and that needs to be a written policy. That's just one of several policies that we look at with regards to helping you create a safe school environment. So that's a risk and vulnerability assessment. Depending on the size of your school, may take anywhere from a day to several days. But again, free service. This next thing is just a real quick tabletop. I'm just going to show this to you because we want you to do tabletops. If you'll go to our webpage as of next week, you'll be able to draw down. There's about 20 different tabletop exercises you can do at faculty meetings. This is what a tabletop it looks like. You set the scenario. You set it up that you're monitoring this. This is a tornado. Parent calls saying tornadoes touched down on the ground, sirens have not sounded. What are we doing? What is your policy? And the reason that tabletops are important is when you do them during a faculty meeting and you say, okay, at what point what are we going to do now? And somebody says, well, I'm doing this. Then the question is that based on the plan or are you winging it? If the plan's not working, here's where we're going to probably figure out when somebody says, well, this is what the plan says, but that doesn't work for me. Or I'm going to do this because I think this is better. Oh, well, maybe we agree that it is better. But tabletops help to not only test your plan, but to teach and train your plan. So that's the question is, what are we going to do? How does it compare with the plan? In this case, the media is reporting a tornado has occurred about 20 miles west. Winds picked up. Sirens have not sounded, but parents are coming in to get their kids. Let me give you a true case scenario. Oologah, about 2 months ago, 2 months before school's out, has a FEMA-approved built shelter with bond issue. When they built that, the idea was that during a tornado warning, they would evacuate all students and employees to the FEMA shelter. And that's what they did. What they didn't tell the community, what they didn't tell parents is when we're in the process of shelter in place and we're moving it, we don't want you to come get your kids. That's exactly what happened. They were moving from different buildings to the shelter, and while they're walking along the sidewalk and along the parking lots, parents are showing up and saying, I want my kid. Well, come with us into the shelter. No, I want my kid and I'm leaving. So those are issues that they did not communicate clearly to the parents, hey, when we're in shelter in place, we don't want you to come get your kids, and if you come, you're welcome to come in here. In fact, we encourage you to do that. But if you're saying no, come and get your kid early. Come and get them early, and we will not penalize you for doing that. It's not going to be an excused absence. If you're that frightened or you think you have a better plan, by all means come, but don't come when we're in this scenario. When we start locking doors during a lockdown, we're not going to open them. I don't want my faculty and staff opening doors, putting themselves at risk for you. So that was a communication. Principal initiates self-replace, sirens sounded. One teacher says, I'm leaving. My kids are in daycare down the street, and I'm going to get them. Folks, this has happened. In fact, I've been traveling the state with this Engage program, and the superintendent and the principal, both from the same school, said, we've already had a teacher who said to us, there is no safe place here. My kids are in the school, but I have a tornado shelter at home. I'm going to grab my kids, and I'm leaving. My response to that is, I can't tell you what you can do. I can only tell you what you can't do, and you cannot leave. But you need to make that clear, and you need to have that discussion with your employees before. We had this happen during 9/11. Teachers in New York and New Jersey left their classrooms, left their students. So this is a conversation you need to have now. If somebody thinks or says, well, I think I'll leave, you can't leave. And if you do, there needs to be a serious consequence. Principal's also aware a field trip was planned. Bus has already left, but they're only 5 minutes out. Now they're turning around, they're coming back, and the bus driver and sponsor are calling saying, what do we do? What is the plan for field trips during emergency weather or in case the school is on lockdown and they're coming back? Do career tech buses get diverted? Do we have deliveries that are diverted out of a lockdown situation on an intruder? In this case, what we're saying is, you're 5 minutes out. Are you going to be able to make it back here? Should you shelter? Where would you shelter? Are there closer options for you to go to? Let me give you another tip. Okay, I learned this when I was working with Tulsa Public Schools. If you schedule a field trip, someone schedules a field trip, the sponsor needs to take 3 lists. Make 3 lists of every human being that attends it. Every student, every bus driver, every parent, every volunteer, every faculty member that goes on the field trip. And you leave 1 list with the office. Take 2 with you. So when the crises occur, and the incident commander for the crisis, who's going to be either a police officer or a firefighter, or someone's going to come up there and say, do you have a list? They're going to ask you for a list. And you're going to say, yes, I have a list. And you're going to hand it to them. And you still have a 3rd list. Because if you only have 1 list and you hand it to them, you have just lost your list. And now people from the office who, if they don't have a list, are going to call you and say, is so-and-so on your bus? How will you keep track of kids who get on the ambulance and are transported? Either have it a hard copy or at least on your phone. Because once you've handed out, and I had this happen at a fatality accident where we arrived and I said, do you have a list? Yes, I do. Where is it? I gave it to a fireman. Which fireman? There's about 50 of them around here, and they're all wearing bunker coats and hats, and they all look the same. I don't know. We never got the list back. We were blind. We'd given our list up to the incident commander at the instant, and we didn't have a list at the office. So no one knew exactly what was going on as kids were. We had parents showing up, taking kids away. Some were transported. The office is calling, parents were calling the office. They had no. The worst thing that someone from the office could say is, I don't know if your kid's on there or not. I have no list. I don't know. So 3 lists. Just different things that can happen. When parents call the school in an emergency and they don't get a response, is it because there's no one answering the phone? Because you're shelter in place, you're in lockdown? Do you have an automated response that can come on when I call as a parent and it says, we are in shelter in place? Everything is fine, please do not come to the school. Everything is something to give them some information. Because if no one answers the phone, my mind automatically goes to the worst case scenario, everybody's dead. So in this case, in this tabletop, people are calling the police department. Go up and check and find out what's going on up there. They're not answering the phones. Police officer walks in. The phones may be dead. If you lose electricity, do you lose your intercom system if you lose electricity? Are your telephone systems voice over IP if you lose electricity? Is there a backup? Or do you lose intercom capabilities and phone capabilities? Does your wireless go down? We did this same class at Union. There was about 25 people in there. I said, everybody pull out your phones. Union High School in the middle of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Union Public Schools in Tulsa. I said, how many of you had service on your phone? Not one person. The structure of that school made it impossible to get cell phone coverage inside the building. That happens a lot in our schools. So wherever you're located, communication becomes a serious component. How do you communicate with parents? How do you communicate with each other? How do you get information out? So that's just something to think about. Electricity suddenly goes up, lights are all inoperable, tornado spotted. This is where, how are you going to react? What information are you going to be able to give out to your people? How will you get it out? How will you take care of it after the tornado passes? What is your plan for after this is over? This is just a short table.
Hi, if I can have your attention for just a moment, please. I'm sorry for the interruption, but we wanted to make the announcement before everybody left the classrooms. We just wanted to advise you that there are going to be 2 food trucks in the southeast parking lot corner outside the multipurpose building, but there are also 2 vendors inside the multipurpose building that will be selling food as well. Also, the golf carts will be brought around front if anyone is needing a ride to their car over by the auditorium to get money or anything else. The golf cart people will be here to help you. We hope you are enjoying. If any of you have any questions, please find a cash employee. We will be happy to help you, or any of the cash volunteer students. They would be more than happy to assist you in anything. Thank you, and have a great rest of the day.
Posters, if you'd like to take as many as you need, there's a whole stack of them. Take these tip line posters with you. Put them up in your school and all your school buildings. Let me tell you again, our professional development is free. We'll come to your school. If you say, here, I want you to talk about safety and security, but I've got 45 minutes, that's it. I'll be there. We know your time is precious, and we know that you have a lot of topics that you have to cover. So I can do anything from 45 minutes to 8 hours. You tell me what the topic is. You tell me what you want to know, what time frame we have, and we will be there, and we will work with whatever time frame you have. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for what you're doing. And if you have any questions, please stay after. We've got brochures here. Get a brochure. Yeah, did anybody else need a CEU credit? Or credit on the training? Better to fill one out and not need it than to not fill it out and need it later.
No, we haven't, okay, I said, we've had student organizations ask us to come out